Hello everybody, it's Foo here, and today I've got another overlooked buff video for you, and we will be covering the definition of an overlooked Pokemon. Definitely one of my favorites. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it is a bird. It's Fearow! I really love this Pokemon ever since I chose it as part of my team in Pokemon Blue. I think it's awesome, but it is severely overlooked and underappreciated. But before we get into that, I just want to ask you guys, if you enjoy this kind of video, please leave a like on the video because it really helps me work out what you guys want to see and it helps promote the channel, but no worries if not. So Fearow is a normal flying type early root bird Pokemon, and compared to the others, it's really not got the love and appreciation that it deserves. And by that, I mean Pidgeot, Farfetch'd, Dodrio, Noctowl, Swellow, and Unfezant all have received stat buffs in recent generations, which are probably the most significant buffs that a Pokemon can get. That only really leaves Staraptor and Talonflame, which are objectively the best early root bird Pokemon because Staraptor has that insane attack stat and Reckless, and Talonflame has the Gale Wings ability. And then you've got Toucannon, which is from the most recent generations. It has a relatively high base stat total comparatively to the others anyway, and it has a very high attack stat and that skill link ability, so it's got quite a bit going for it anyway. So Fearow is definitely one of the most overlooked. It hasn't received a stat buff like most of the other birds, and seeing as though it was introduced in Generation 1 and there's been significant speed and power creep, that's really not fair in my opinion. But Generation 7 and Pokemon Sun and Moon have given it some really interesting tools that I love and can't wait to tell you guys about, because I think most people probably aren't aware of these, so this should be a pretty interesting video. So first off, let's look at what Fearow was like before Generation 7 and Pokemon Sun and Moon. As I said, normal flying type Pokemon, not the best dual typing. Offensively, the two types don't give each other too much. Defensively, normal typing isn't a particularly interesting defensive typing anyway. But what we need to look at is the stats for Fearow. So it's got that base 100 speed. That's definitely its biggest selling point. Back in Generation 1, that was a pretty good speed tier to be at. You could see that in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, it's one of the faster Pokemon. But since then, with many generations, base 100 has definitely been downgraded to not even the fastest Pokemon, not a particularly fast Pokemon. It's a nice benchmark to hit, but you want to be faster than that to be considered a fast Pokemon. It's also got that base 90 attack stat, which is pretty nice, definitely usable, but again, with the power creep over the generations, it really isn't considered very powerful by Generation 7 standards, so that is a damn shame. And then if you put that in context of its low HP stat, low defense and special defense, it's a very frail Pokemon and it doesn't have the special attack stat to use either. It really leaves a lot to be wanted, so that is a shame. I mean, the base 100 speed and base 90 attack stat, it's all right, it's not bad, but in context of everything else and the generational creeps, it deserves more. It really deserves more. In terms of its abilities, it's got Keen Eye. Outside of in-game, that's really not very useful. People shouldn't be using accuracy drops, which it prevents accuracy drops, but people shouldn't be using them in competitive because first off, it's not a reliable tactic. It all is dependent on luck. And second off, you're better boosting your evasion than lowering the opponent's defense. So Keen Eye shouldn't really be used ever. It's very redundant. Its other ability is Sniper, which is much cooler. It boosts the damage of critical hits from 1.5 times damage to 2.25 times damage, which is a really big increase. If you score a critical hit with the Sniper ability, you're doing a ton of damage. Now this is really good for Pokemon that can guarantee getting lots of critical hits off. It's a really useful ability. But up until now, Fearow was not one of those Pokemon. Things like Kingdra use it incredibly well because they could go for a focus energy, and it meant that their Draco Meteors would consistently be critical hitting and ignoring their special attack drops. Fearow didn't have anything like that going for it. But that brings us to our first buff. Fearow now learns the move Focus Energy. What this does is it boosts Fearow's critical hit level by 2. So let's go and look at the critical hit mechanics just to understand a bit more about that. The baseline critical hit chance in Generation 7 is about 4%. It's 1 in 24 hits, which is pretty low. You can't guarantee getting crits, and without any way to boost your critical hit chance, it's not really going to happen frequently and it's not worth factoring in. If you boost your critical hit chance by 1 stage, you're getting a crit every 1 in 8 moves, which is about a 12.5% chance. If you boost it by 2 stages, then 50% of the time you will be getting a critical hit, which is really, really nice. And then if you can boost it by 1 more level, you will always crit, which is amazing. So if you can get +3 stages of critical hit chance, then you will always critical hit. So what Focus Energy does for Fearow is it gives it +2 stages, which automatically takes it to the 50% crit chance, which is really high anyway. And if you can boost it 1 stage further, you'll get that 100% crit chance. You can do that in a number of ways. One way would be using moves with high critical hit chances. The relevant ones for Fearow are Drill Run, which is its ground type coverage. Really nice coverage move for Fearow because it hits the steel types, the rock types, and the electric types that would resist its flying coverage. So it's a really nice coverage move anyway. And with a Focus Energy, it always critical hits. So that's really neat. The other one is Sky Attack, so you could use a Power Herb Sky Attack. The issue is once you've used your Power Herb, then you're not going to critical hit. But Sky Attack is a very powerful move, so it's worth considering. Or the more reliable way is just slapping a Scope Lens on Fearow. So it goes for the Focus Energy. Scope Lens gives it that 3rd critical hit chance boost, and it will always crit. That means you're always getting that sniper damage. You're getting 225% damage. That's better than a sword stance, which is really cool. And what's very, very neat about critical hits is they ignore any stat drops that Fearow might have, or any defense boosts that the opponent might have. So if the opponent has an Intimidate user, or if they're going for curses or iron defense or whatever, you're going to ignore all of that and consistently have very high damage output. So I really love this for Fearow. I think it's such a cool niche for this Pokemon to have. The only issue is being a very frail Pokemon, getting that Focus Energy set up in the first place. But if you can do that, if you can, say, force your opponent's grass type out while you go for a Focus Energy, you're going to be getting really, really high damage. You can have your Drill Peck and Drill Run, very good coverage as it is, and you can put Quick Attack on there because, as I said, you're not the fastest thing anymore, so having some priority is really nice, or maybe Double Edge for some really high damage output. That is all really cool, and I love it. The second buff we're going to talk about is along a similar vein, and that is using Laser Focus, a new tutor move introduced in Generation 7. Laser Focus, you go for it 1 turn, and it guarantees that the next turn you'll get a critical hit. Now, why would you use this over Focus Energy? Well, I would argue Focus Energy is probably more useful, but Laser Focus allows you to hold different items, and you can use whatever moves you want to. Doesn't have to consider critical hits in those areas. So you could potentially use Laser Focus with a Life Orb to get even higher damage output. You'll get the critical hit and the Life Orb boost. Or you can even use offensive Z moves with this. So what you can do nowadays is transfer Fearow from the Virtual Console. With it knowing Double Edge, it will automatically have the Sniper hidden ability. So you can have a Sniper Double Edge Fearow, which is crazy. It's so good. And if you go for a Laser Focus and then a Breakneck Blitz based off Double Edge, you've got an insanely powerful Z move that is guaranteed to critical hit your opponent with a sniper damage boost. That is insane, and you are going to nuke your opponent. If they don't resist it, they're probably going down. So that's a really cool way of using Laser Focus with Fearow, or with any Pokemon. Fearow is probably one of the best Pokemon to use Laser Focus with, as long as you don't faint before you get to crit the opponent. The other Z move you might consider is potentially a Supersonic Sky Strike based off Sky Attack, because that is insane power. So that's another really cool one to use. These ones, it's like a really neat strategy. If you just want a one-off nuke, then you can use those. With Double Edge, it's a little bit more reliable because once you've nuked them with a Breakneck Blitz, you still have a very powerful Double Edge to use. Whereas with the Sky Attack, obviously, you'd have to charge, and that's going to just get your Fearow fainted. So maybe not the best one, but definitely style points there. So yeah, Laser Focus is a really interesting move, definitely underutilized at the moment, and something that Fearow can consider because it does have that sniper ability. So we're moving on, and I've already mentioned some Z moves, and I didn't give them a separate category because the offensive Z moves, I mean, they're great, but they're definitely better in combination with the Laser Focus. But I've got 2 more Z moves for you to cover because you guys know how much I love them. So we have Z-TAILWInd as the first one I want to consider. What this allows you to do is simultaneously boost Fearow's speed by 2 stages, because Tailwind it increases your entire team's speed by 2 stages, which is great. But the Z part gives you a critical hit chance boost of 2 stages, meaning that you're automatically getting that 50% chance to critical hit. If you're running Drill Run, Drill Run will be 100% critical hitting, so that's really neat. It's a cool way to kind of try to combine a speed boost and the critical hit chance boost, although you don't get 100% crits on non-high critical hit chance moves, so your drill pecks, double edges, whatever else won't be doing all that damage. What's neat about sets with this is you don't have to run quick attack because you're getting that speed boost, so you can run something like throat chop or double edge alongside your flying and ground coverage. I mean, Fearow doesn't have the biggest coverage pool, but I think it has what it needs. So yeah, very, very cool set to try. Bit more risky because you're not guaranteed the crits, but if you get them, you're going to be taking stuff down, and I really, really like this one. I think it's so cool. What's also cool is that even if you only get 1 attack off with the Z-TAILWIND set, you've got the Tailwind up for your next Pokemon to come in and use as well. So it's a supporting set as well as a sweeping set, which is really nice. And the last one that I want to talk about, the last buff, is Z Mirror Move. So previously, Fearow couldn't really boost its attack stat at all, and so all of these things, all of this power increase is new to Fearow. The critical hit power increase is new to Fearow, but Z Mirror Move actually allows it to directly increase its attack stat while using Z Mirror Move, which is one of the coolest Z moves in the game anyway. So what it does is it gives you +2 attack, which is great. It's like a sword stance, very powerful. And if your opponent went for an attack against you last turn, it turns that attack into a Z move and uses it after the +2 boost. So that's really powerful. In the video, I've got an example of using it against Sucker Punch, because Sucker Punch fails, but then you actually turn Sucker Punch into a Black Hole Eclipse and bounce it right back at the opponent, doing massive damage. So that is so cool. And then obviously you've got the attack boost, so you can drill peck, drill run to your heart's content, and you've got quick attack there. +2, you're actually doing a lot of damage. This set doesn't utilize that sniper ability, it doesn't have to, but if you do happen to get that 1 in 24 chance of a critical hit, something's gonna go down. So that's really cool. And yeah, just another option if you don't want to try those kind of critical hit setup sets. This is another option that Fearow definitely couldn't do before, so really adding to Fearow's versatility. So all in all, I've given you some really interesting set ideas for Fearow. I really like this Pokemon. I love its design. I love that it's just an OG bird type that has a real niche now that it never had before. So I really appreciate that about this. I think that we still need to go a lot further. Most of the other bird Pokemon have like a 50 base stat advantage over Fearow. If Fearow had higher defenses, it could set up more easily, and with all these setup options now, that would be great. It also gets agility, which I haven't even mentioned in this video, but if you want to combine that with one of the setup sets, you can. It's just obviously getting the setup is hard because it's so frail. So if it had better defenses, then that would be great because you could set up more easily, or if it had higher speed and attack, it would be much more scary off the bat. But it does have a really low base stat total compared to the other birds, which sucks. I think this Pokemon deserves a lot more love, but I don't think it's bad anymore. I think it's got a place and stuff that it can do. So I really, really like that. Personally, I think the Focus Energy set is the best or the coolest. The Z-TAILWIND one is really cool too, and I love seeing laser focus used, and this Pokemon is one of the best ones to do that. So please try this Pokemon out. Let me know what you think of Fearow, what sets you like, and whether you think that it deserves more boosts. I definitely think it deserves more boosts. But that's where we're going to leave it for today. All that's left to be said is I've been Foo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.